All right, so this is a companion video on question banks, also called by me quiz banks, but that's not what they really are. So here's what I want. So right now, when my kids take a quiz, let's go here. Let's go to modules. Let's just go find a quiz that they're taking. Okay. Well, let's just do an old one. I don't want to release any top secret information here. So here's our week 3 quiz, AP Physics. And basically, so let's say I'm a student and I'm going to take this quiz. I hit preview because I'm a teacher, because if I go into student mode, it's going to take even longer. So my first question, for me, my first question is worth 96 points. Every kid scores a 0 on it. And when I do that, that allows me to use a 4-point scale on Canvas. So I just make everything 100 points, but the highest score they can get is 4. And then I set it all up so that that's an A or whatever. So this is not a video about a 4-point scale, but in case you're wondering, so I usually have a question. I put a question here that gives them a chance to vent or talk to me about how it's going. And so here's the deal. So I'm taking this quiz now, and here's a question 2, and then there's some multiple choice, and there's some graphs and things. Every kid that takes this quiz gets a different one. Every kid that takes this quiz gets a slightly different version of this quiz. So I'm going to stop taking the quiz because I'm not editing or keeping this quiz or whatever. So how did he do it? How did he do it? Well, he didn't do it while he was screencastifying because that takes forever. So what you do is you have decided, I want to make a quiz this week for all the stuff that we're learning in class. So I click on Manage Question Banks. And then I made a question bank. So I'm going to do this one right here because it's a little smaller and more manageable. So what I wanted to do was I wanted to ask the kids a question. I'm not sure why this one doesn't have a label. That's kind of weird. But everything that's AP kinematics is labeled AP Kin. So these are questions right out of release tests. So I wanted every kid to answer a certain number of questions that were from release tests because we finally got to the point where we could do that. And then, so I found all of them and I just made a question. I put all the questions that I found on the release test, I put in here. So it takes a while, right? And then finally, okay, then I also want to ask some questions about projectile motion graphs. So here's a question about projectile motion graphs, and here's one, and here's one, and here's one. So I made all these questions about projectile motion graphs, and I labeled them all projectile motion graph. And then I wanted to ask some questions about vectors. So I made a bunch of questions about vectors, and I labeled them all vectors. All right, so that's my bank. I got a bank of questions. So I'm not asking every kid every one of these questions. So I had to, if I wanted a kid to answer 4 questions of one type, then what I needed to do was make 8 questions or 16 questions of that type so that I have a bank to pull from so that kids get different questions. All right, so then I go to quizzes and I make a quiz. So how do you do it? So you make a new quiz. Yeah, that's great. We all wanted a new thing to look at today. All right, so and then I start making some questions. So first thing I need to do is make question groups. So I'm going to make a group. I'm going to call it vectors. And I'm going to pick 2 vector questions. And it doesn't matter since this is a fake quiz. They're each worth 1 point, whatever. Create that group. It gives me a red flag. I don't care. New question group, PM graphs. I'm going to pick 2 of those questions. Doesn't matter. I don't know how many it is. And then I'm going to do a new question group. What was it? AP Kin. So I'm using the same groups as the labels I created in the quiz bank so I don't get confused. So now I go find, so now that I got my group set up first, then I go find questions. So I got to go find the bank that I put the questions in, or banks. So I go here, here's where they're at. So I pick all these pumpkin questions. Boom, 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 boom. Oh, there's a lot of those, right? And I don't know, maybe I really should have picked 4 pumpkin questions. Okay, so I'm done picking pumpkin questions. Now I got to put them in the right group. So I go add those questions to that group. And then I do it again. I go find questions, and I got to make sure I'm in the right place. Oof. I really wish I would have thought about this more before I made all these banks. And so next I need to have my graph questions. Whoops. And I go put those in the graph group. Okay, so you get the idea. And once I do that, then I publish the quiz, and now my little face is right in the way, right? So you save and publish, and then when you do that, when you assign it to the kids, it'll pull two of those 16 questions. It'll just randomly pull 2 of those per kid. So every kid who's taking the quiz is taking a different quiz at this, so that they can't call each other and say, "What'd you get for number 1?" Because they're all different. Every quiz is different. But they're all being assessed on the same things. Some things, just a bonus things. What I'm doing right now is I'm clicking shuffle answers. I'm also allowing multiple attempts. I'm allowing my AP kids to take 2 attempts. It's like a retake. Keeping the high score because I'm being nice, because life's hard right now and I don't want to be a jerk. Don't let them see the correct answers. That's a mistake. But I will let them see their wrong answer, their responses, and then give it a due date and save and publish. And Bob's your uncle, right? And make sure you over-explain everything here in the rich text editor. Otherwise, they won't understand that they're supposed to click the multiple choice answers. They're supposed to click or whatever. All right, that's it.